Hey guys, Jack here. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of the CypherWheel. But before we get there, I just wanted to quickly talk about, why you should want to own something like this. Um, a lot of people don't fully understand the difference between owning, like what it means to own a Bitcoin. A lot of you have probably seen that the phrase "not your keys, not your Bitcoin." So what that really means is when it's sitting on an exchange, you don't own the private key. So there are two keys when you own a wallet with Bitcoin. One is the public key, which would be equivalent to like your mailing address at home, so people can send you things. And then the other side of that is your private key. And this is the most sacred thing about owning your Bitcoin. If you don't own this key, you don't own the Bitcoin, essentially. And if someone else has control of that, it's essentially like them having the key to your car. And that's not very good. So by taking these steps of owning a hardware wallet or a desktop wallet, you can gain access to these private keys. And typically you're given a seed phrase, which is a 24-word mnemonic code, basically, of 24 words that correspond to the private keys on the wallets. And, keeping those safe is probably the most important part. And that's where this comes in. We recommend that the bare minimum level of safety, if you're going to take part in owning your Bitcoin, is getting something like this, because fires happen, mistakes happen, theft happens, and you want to be able to get your Bitcoin back if anything happens. And typically when you buy a hardware wallet, you're given just a piece of paper to write down your seed phrases, and a dog can eat it. Like I said, a fire could take it away. Even pen over time could wear away. So the base that we would recommend is that you get something like a CypherWheel, where you can, it's fireproof, waterproof, damage proof. So once you finally, purchase your hardware wallet, you're gonna turn your wallet on, and it's going to spit out 24 words. And what's very important is not only remembering and writing down these words, but the order in which they are given is very important. Essentially, you have a large number of words, and they all are pegged to a specific number or grouping of numbers. And by putting them in the right order, it allows for a user-friendly exchange between you and your private key, basically. So this is a way that humans can kind of manage that information rather than a jumbled of numbers and letters. So we're going to pop this thing open right now and show you what's inside, and we'll show you how to kind of set it up and what you should be looking for. Alrighty, let's get this thing open here. Alrighty. Can immediately tell you that it's nice and well packed. So we have some tools up here. So this first tool here is a tamper-proof lock, which doesn't want to come out yet. And these are some tools for placing your letters into the wheel. There we go. So these tamper-proof locks, well, I think they're a great idea. They might not be necessary in my opinion. They correspond to a specific number here. And so you could tell if anything has been tampered with, if this number has changed and the seal is broken when you finally get it set up. So here's the CypherWheel itself. And what's nice is you don't have to do any of your own etching. It's all done for you right here on these blocks. So you could tell immediately it is very nice and sturdy. Actually, it's a pretty good hunk of metal here. So it looks like, so here's your starting point, number one. So like I said before, the order in which you use your seed phrase is very important. It's going to spit it out in a very specific order, and that is very important because it corresponds identically to your private key. So you want to start with obviously number one, and you work your way around. And so on one side you have 12 openings, And on the flip side, you have the other 12, putting it to a total of 24. What's actually important is that you can actually lock this when you get both sides kind of set up with a padlock here. So you can stick a padlock through here and lock it up nice. So what's nice about this is if you do your own one, anyone could technically come and see it, even though it won't be damaged. We're here, it's another step, it's another layer of security for those who want it. And I would definitely recommend taking that step. Before we get into anything else, here is a sample of what your seed phrase might look like. Don't try to use any of these because it's not real. These are just kind of random words we came up with for the sake of the video. Typically, they're going to be 4-letter words. Some might be longer than 4 letters, but when you, for the sake of the seed phrase, only the first 4 letters actually matter. For the video's sake, we're only going to use 4-letter words. So how you would end up doing this is you would start by going to number 1, like so. And for our number 1 is hodl. So let's go into our box of goods here, and we will grab So it will definitely take some time to get your, all your words straightened out and get all the letters. But here's kind of a brief tutorial on how you would set that up. So I would probably recommend using the tweezers to at least pick up the pieces. So I'd recommend using the tweezers. And to start, you want to make sure you got it nice and lined up. There's a groove you can see here that allows the letter to slide right in. And so basically all you're doing is you're taking the letter plate and you're pushing it into place. It's going to be very time consuming to get it all set up, but once it's set up, you never have to do it again. And taking the precautions for most people could be their life savings or a good part of their savings. Security is everything. Want to get it nice and square up against the right edge so it kind of sits in before you try to move it over. All right. So it's going to look something like this once you have it all set in place. So you can read the word, and once you're ready and it's finalized and you're sure of it, what you can do is you take this, and there is a little dot right here at the edge, and when you push that down, it's going to lock it in place permanently. And when you do that, the tiles won't move. You might have to do it once or twice. I think they recommend twice to fully hold it in place. And you're going to repeat the steps for all 24 words. And once you're done with that, you're good to go. So after going through and putting the letters in, I kind of have some final thoughts to leave you guys with. This device definitely feels very sturdy. It's very heavy, and I'm pretty confident that this will, hold for whatever you need it for. It is quite difficult to actually get the tiles to set in place, and it's quite difficult to actually take them out. So I would recommend making sure you don't make any mistakes there. But I can tell once you do punch the pin and set them in place that these things are never coming out ever again. So that makes me very confident. All in all, I think this is going to be a great product for the average user who is looking to get into owning their own Bitcoin and securing it properly. Obviously, the next step beyond that will be multi-sig, which we'll be talking about at some point in the future. But this is your base case, in my opinion. You need something like this if you're going to own your own Bitcoin, because there are so many stories of people making mistakes, losing their keys, losing their hardware devices, stolen, fire, you name it. This is one way to back it up. And for people who don't understand exactly how that might work, if I was to lose, say, my ledger or my Trezor, and I had this device still with me, I could purchase a new one and reformat. It's essentially like reformatting a computer um, in terms. You would set it up as an existing device, and it would ask for your seed phrase, and that's where this would come in handy. And you would be able to put in your seed phrase and restore it back, and you'd gain access to your funds. And without this, if you were to put your funds on a hardware device and you would forget how to access it, they're gone for good. So something like this that can, stand the test of time is very important, and it's something that no one should overlook.